Welcome back in, Wyoming Knuckleheads. I'm your host, Aaron, and I've got my co-host, Zach Gale, with me. Zach, what's going on, brother?
Working for a living, man.
You're almost done.
I am.
This is a Give No Ground brought to you by GoBeWYO. Today is May 26th. Wow.
I know.
It's going fast, man.
I was just looking at the calendar. It's like this weekend will be four weeks since I graduated.
Yeah.
What?
You're like, what? Yeah. Time's gone. And
yeah.
And then you're going to be teaching, and then you're like, whoa, there goes my summer.
And that'll be 70.
But thank you guys for coming back in, you Wyoming Knuckleheads. First and foremost, our Brianne Beasley Saddle Tramp brand interview is up on YouTube and all our audio platforms, as well as the Sheridan PD one, Captain Tom Ringley and Chief Koltiska. That's been out on the audio for a while, but if you want to watch the video, go for it.
Video is coming soon, or did it?
It's coming out soon.
Yes, very soon.
By the time you're listening to this, maybe it's out on YouTube.
Yes.
But today we're going to keep it short. We have an interview coming up with Ashley Harpstreith again from Wyoming Taxpayers Association.
Yep.
She hopefully will give us a recap on the legislative session and anything else going on. So, and then other than that, some state news, some local stuff, nothing crazy, but I will say you and I are going to give our take on this whole the Liz Cheney thing and the field and Anthony Bouchard and
the circus that it's becoming.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So, but before,
stay tuned though. Stay tuned. Listen to Ashley's interview.
Yes.
That's really good. That whole budget situation, if you thought that was done, it's not.
Yeah.
We're not even close to being done with that.
Not even close.
So stay tuned. Listen to that. It's really good.
Yeah. First and foremost, to our Cloud Peak sponsors, DYT Solutions. If you need any digital marketing solutions for your company, or if you have a personal brand, go to their website, dytsolutionswy.com, or shoot them an email at admin@designyourtech.com. So, all right, Zach, local news first. Most of this is just kind of announcements, which is fine. Next week, June 1st, from 5, that's kind of a short tasting, 5 to 6 p.m., WYO Rodeo Whiskey and the WYO Rodeo are going to do a tasting in Market Hall. So that's downstairs of where the studio is. So that's 841 Broadway Street across from the Sheridan Inn. So that's a kind of a little shout out, little plug to Bighorn Spirits, Gregor Downey.
Yeah. So. Come check that out. Gregor's a great guy. And that'll just be fun. Yeah,
he's got some new stuff he's gonna have as well. Other than they're obviously doing a tasting with the WYO Rodeo whiskey. So cool. We've got it in the studio. Also, this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, high school graduates. Everything's outside. Everything's happening. Yeah. So congratulations to any of the high school grads out there.
Yep.
And it's an exciting time.
Across the state. Good work.
Yep.
You earned it.
Yeah, you finished through probably one of the hardest years ever, other than last year. So, yeah, craziness. Also, here in Sheridan, so the Hoop Jam, that's a 3-on-3 tournament. That's happening next weekend, 4th and the 5th, I believe, at the Sheridan High School. And also, that is going to be the Dead Swede bike race.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a particular team at the Beer and Bacon Station.
Yes, yours truly.
Yes, we will be handing out beer and bacon and kind of coordinating all the racers and stuff through there.
Yeah.
So if you are a racer, we'll see you there.
Yeah, it's going to be a party.
Yeah, if we're going to have a lot of people help us. I think I'm going to rope some high school kids in and all that stuff. But yeah, it's going to be a fun time. We've told it's work because we got to make sure the racers are safe and all that stuff. But it's kind of like, well, it's the Beer and Bacon Station. So you can kind of put 2 and 2 together there. One big story. That's not even a big story, Zach. This is a weird story.
Yeah.
I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
So a friend of ours, Ken Pennegraft, who I should give his plug for his podcast, The Ramble Room. Mm-hmm. I guess he was driving around town today and he saw this sign of support Palestine.
Yeah.
So he posted it on there on Facebook, and of course he's getting all these comments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The comments are crazy.
They're always crazy. No matter what post it is, it could be a Sheridan Press article about something, not very exciting at all, and the comments will just be outrageous. The sign says, I stand with Palestine and I support human rights and blah, 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 and got a nice Palestine flag painted. And, just nice and big and in your face. Some people were making comments to Ken about like, oh, way to make this,
Like, way to blow this thing up. And, of course, other people are supporting him on, and I will say, friend of the show, Tom Kelly, was kind of like, the post of the sign will do nothing of the conflict in the Middle East.
Right.
You making a sign and saying, I support Palestine, will not do anything in the conflict in the Middle East.
Right.
And I think that is the naivety or the arrogance of Americans thinking, oh, I'm going to say something and do that, when it's like, that doesn't really do anything.
Right. Or it did exactly what they wanted it to do and rile people up on Facebook.
Yep. Oh, yeah, totally.
I don't know. I mean, look, fall wherever you want on either side of that. I think, but you just need to do your due diligence and really find out the truth there.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of, the history of that entire area is extensive. Just figure out why there's conflict there in the first place.
Yep.
It goes beyond religion.
Yeah.
And it's really, really, like I said, you really have to go back centuries to grasp what's going on over there.
Yeah, and it's that's well said. That's all I'm going to say is educate yourself, and as we said, that's exactly what that person probably wanted, is to rile people up, and it's like, that's really not actually doing anything for human rights. Right. So great job.
Right.
So anything else, Zach, local news wise?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's been kind of quiet recently. I think people are kind of just sick of stuff.
Yeah.
Before we jump into state news, I do have some big news that I'll share with our listeners. My wife and I are going to sell our house, and it's going to be listed here shortly. But we're going through a realtor. Yeah. And I think y'all can guess who the realtor is. It's going to be Jess Hattervig at ERA Care Realty. I've heard a lot of people that have sold their house, sale by owner, whatever, save the commission, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
I can tell you right now, I'm glad I'm going to use a realtor, and I'm glad I'm going to use, one, Jess as a friend, and then two, Jess is very professional and knows what he's doing. And it's going to be nice because already, Zach, we haven't, this will be like the first big announcement of that we're selling our house.
Sure.
We've already had 2 or 3 people interested. And this is without us not even telling anybody.
Yeah.
That's how crazy it is right now.
Jeez.
So it's like, nope, you got to talk to our realtor. You're not bugging me. You're not bugging my wife about coming to see it.
Yeah.
You're not shooting us offers. You're talking to him. And then we funnel it in there through there. So if you're looking to buy a house, give him a call, 307-751-6924. Or if you haven't ever looked at, should I sell my house or should I move here in Sheridan or really Wyoming in general, give him a call as well. So, Zach, you want to buy a house?
I've been thinking about it. I don't think I'm there yet.
Yeah, take your time. use that basement, your parents' basement, as long as you can. All right, man. This is great news from the University of Wyoming in some athletics.
Yeah, the university plans to return to full capacity at War Memorial Stadium this fall. So that means, and I think it's maskless. Let me just be sure.
I just saw that the university is not in masks right now.
Okay,
right now. So I would imagine.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Go catch your cowboy football this fall without a mask in the war. That'll be exciting.
It's going to be huge.
Oh, yeah.
The season's going to be awesome.
That first game, UW versus Montana State Bobcats in Laramie. And
you going?
Oh, man, I want to.
You should. You're probably not even teaching yet.
No, probably.
Oh, yeah, you are.
I
September.
might be teaching.
Yep.
And I might be coaching that weekend, so we'll have to see. There might be some conflict there.
Might have to make some decisions.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. You can get down there pretty quick, depending if it's a night game.
I think so. We'll see, though. It's going to be exciting. That's just good news.
It is.
It's good news.
And we're going to talk about it later, kind of the vaccination numbers. But on a real sports note, the Cowboys should be good this year. A lot of defensive players coming back, a lot of offensive guys coming back. Remember, they ended that streak. No Cowboy was drafted this last year.
Right.
So that means we're young.
Yep.
So, we should have put this with the high school grads, but Zach, you found the picture of Natrona County seniors did a good prank on their last day of school, huh?
Yeah. So it was 3 seniors at Natrona County High School. They put duct tape on this like 30 by 16 foot tarp and hung it from the roof. And so basically what it says is, oh gosh, I think it says like 200 bedroom, 300 bath for sale, and CHS for sale. And so it's not for sale, in case anybody's wondering. But yeah, no, that's pretty funny. That's
the state is in trouble, but
yeah. So the seniors were just wanting to leave their mark and do so in a fun way.
Yeah,
so,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Zach, let's go to our interview with Ashley Harpstreith from the Wyoming Taxpayers Association. This would be a good little break here. So again, here is a recap of the legislative session from Executive Director of the Wyoming Taxpayers Association, Ashley Harpstreith. And now we are welcoming, this is another recurring guest, Executive Director of the Wyoming Taxpayers Association, Ashley Harpstreith. Ashley, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing to come back on. And we hope to do this kind of as a occurring thing with the WTA and GoBeWYO. I think it's very important for citizens of Wyoming to know what the heck is going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
To your listeners. So.
Yeah, because you guys, are down there in session. You guys are with the legislators, the lobbyists, keeping tabs on what's going on, and that's kind of going to be the focus of today. Is kind of a recap of the session. Some of the big things, Ashley, that you think are important, and really kind of, we all know we're probably going to have some special sessions, and we'll get into kind of why that is. But Ashley, first and foremost, what were some of the biggest takeaways, and it can be positive, negative, for you that you guys saw from the WTA from this last legislative session?
Yeah, so I want to back up 1 second, if it's okay, to introduce some of your new listeners that might not know who our organization is or who I am, so they understand where we're coming from. So Wyoming Taxpayers Association is a nonprofit 501c6 corporation, and we have a C3 arm that does all of our research, but we're anti-tax for sound tax policy for a healthy Wyoming economy. And we've been around since 1937. Takeaways from 2021 general session was due to the pending $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan Act, otherwise known as ARPA funding. The consensus was drawn quickly between the Senate and House to come to a budget. We last session, or I guess it's 2 sessions ago, 2020 general session or 2020 budget session, they appropriated $2.9 billion to the general fund. Then we hit the pandemic in summer of 2020. The governor had to take extreme measures to stop the bleeding and match up revenue forecasts to what was actually in the bank and how, and the services that were being rendered. So he froze hiring contracts, made some major agency cuts last summer, and then he made final recommendations to the legislature last fall for a supplemental budget. So the fast forward, the group did stay very close to the governor's original recommendations this last session of about 15% or $430 million in cuts to the general fund, which brought it back down to $2.5 billion, with the elimination of 324 predominantly vacant positions. So just to unpack that a little bit further, I have shared some slides with you guys that you can see versus revenue over the last 20 years. And if you look at 2010, we were at about $4.1 billion in the general fund account of where they did. They went from 4.1 10 years ago to 2.6, which is a 39% cut in services. So that was the big
Repeat that, Ashley. You're cutting out there. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. That was the big headline was, the big cut of from 4.1 billion to 2.5 billion in the general fund.
Sure.
Right. Okay.
And again, why they got to that so quickly was the pending ARPA funds that are coming to the state to help backfill some of these cuts. The other thing that happened was they did end up restoring in the supplementals to University of Wyoming and community colleges that supported the Government Network Initiative. And then the rainy day funds, otherwise known as the LISRA, the Legislative Stabilization Reserve Accounts, that ended up at $1 billion, and they spent $23.8 million from that. As it moves forward with education, which is outside of the general fund, they're still anticipating about a $300 million a year shortfall, which takes from that rainy day fund. So $1 billion minus $300 million in the next 3 years, that could be depleted if things don't change in that bucket of money.
Gotcha.
Sure. Ashley, you might be able to clarify this. Do those ARPA funds, are they also being distributed into the K-12 budget?
Yes. So they have about 200 plus million, 300 million, somewhere around there, that will be backfilling some K-12 dollars.
Gotcha.
Okay, good. So that postpones that for at least one more year, right?
Yeah.
At least one more year. So as far as looking back on this last session, probably the biggest tax bill with the most traction and biggest conversation that relates to our budget and to the cost of services was House Bill 173 and House Bill 174, which was school finance funding and then local government sales and use taxes.
Mm-hmm. And
so there was a couple of different versions that went through, but this of it. The proposal was to fund K-12 schools or the school foundation program. That's the budget account that funds the schools. Initially, that House Bill 173, the school finance funding, implements a one additional penny of statewide sales and use tax to fund education if the Legislative Stabilization Reserve Account, the LISRA, or the rainy day account, was going to dip below $650 million. That would have brought the statewide sales and use with it solely to education. If that
Ashley,
was
go back
implemented,
Ashley, go back to that rate again. You cut out right at the rate for that sales tax.
Okay, so that would have brought the statewide sales and use tax to 5 cents, with the fifth penny being dedicated solely to education.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if House Bill 173 was implemented, and that's when the LISRA would dip below $650 million, they were going to enact House Bill 174, which would address the 3 pennies for local government funding by a penny for the locals, the ability for an additional penny to be enacted by the local governing body or by ballot, and the opportunity for another penny by the vote of the people. Both bills combined would raise the state and local maximum from 7 cents to 8 cents on sales. There was a lot of debate around that on the main way that local governments at the city, the municipal and county level fund their services, because there's only a couple of counties that have that 6th penny, and then the 5th penny is optional. All but 2 or 3 counties have that permanent. So the ability to raise that when they're pushing it out another penny, they were very nervous about. So there was a lot of debate about that. So what ended up happening was the House passed a substitute bill, number 1. They only cut $60 million to schools for health insurance for ghost employees, and then it diverted about $48 million from the Permanent Mineral Trust Fund to the School Foundation Program and imposed a half-cent sales tax. So then they brought it down to half-cent sales tax when the Legislative Stabilization Reserve Account, the rainy day account, dropped below $650 million. The Senate's education bill that they had going in their chamber, it passed their chamber, but it didn't go anywhere in the House, focused only on cutting and was never heard in the House. Once they got to Joint Conference Committee on House Bill 173, the House was unable to, both of them were unable to reach a consensus, and the bill failed. So at the end of the day, the school foundation program received no reductions and still will receive full state funding plus another $303 million in ARPA funding. So here's my numbers hard there. The school foundation program structural deficit remains approximately $300 million a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's it in a nutshell. And I think this is the best example of the taxes we pay in versus the services we receive. And they were trying to kind of pull on both levers of, raising the tax base a little while cutting. And then there was a lot of other debate, because the school foundation program is funded, when you look in the distribution of how they're funded through lots of different ways. So they have property tax, they have mineral royalties. Anytime you're penalty fees like that fund education, car vehicle registrations fund education, not all of them, but a portion of them. So then they were starting to dip into sales tax. So there was a lot of debate around that. Good, bad, and different. That was probably ultimately why it failed.
Sure.
Gotcha. What do you see, moving forward for K-12?
They're going to have this big conversation of what do we want Wyoming's education system to look like? What are constituents willing to pay for? What do legislators have the appetite to cut and to fund? So on the efficiency side, there was, let me find the bill number. It was House Bill 77, school organization reorganization, and that would have been just a study to look at our school districts and consolidation. And I know you guys have had a lot of conversation about that. Wyoming currently has 48 school districts with 23 counties. This wasn't looking at closing schools. This was just looking at efficiencies at the administrative level. Some proponents say it will only save $8 million, but they aren't exactly sure until they really get in there and study it and maybe implement some of those recommendations forward in the right direction of saving some dollars for efficiencies. But a lot of legislators, they don't want to raise taxes, but they also don't want to cut their schools. So that was a pass anything.
Sure.
Right.
So I think that will continue to be the debate until you get another, the next, that will at least be for the 66th legislature at the 2022 budget session. Still continue to be the debate, whether or not they bring a sales tax bill back or they look at other revenue streams. Will be interesting to see how they debate that, or if they look at any efficiencies, or they just use the ARPA dollars to buy them time to not have to talk about it till the next time. They're going to have to figure out some of it because they're going to have to build the budget for fiscal year 23-24.
Yep.
Right.
On that note, why is there no talk of, I understand it, right, from a political standpoint, like you can't be the legislator that's against education, but there's an obvious problem of we need to reform how that K-12 budget is funded. Would you agree? And whatever that reformation is. Right.
So it's like the basket of goods is what costs, that's what they were hoping with recalibration that happened this last year, is looking at that basket of goods. And that's what brings you to that 16,000 number and some change per student cost.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't change that this year. So that was kind of a missed opportunity where they could have debated that. And then, I don't know. They're just, the answer's in front of them, and they're the ones with the authority to make those changes. So they're just going to have to hear from their constituents or try to do what they think is, best to move the state forward. But eventually ARPA dollars are going to run out. If we stay on the spending trends we're on at the efficiency levels we're at, the LISRA will run out. Like, it's just, it's not if, it's when.
Yeah.
Needle.
Right. One thing,
so it depends on their appetite for being proactive.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, kind of on that note of being proactive, Aaron and I have talked about, why there should be some way for these school districts, like Sheridan County School District 2 has done a good job of, saving money and being fiscally responsible. But they do have to end up spending that money that they're given, or else their budget for
right.
next year is reduced. So how could we, how is that just a legislation thing? There, a bill that maybe allows school districts to reinvest that money in next year instead of or put it into a savings account so that it does kind of continue to build up. Just some sort of reward for school districts who are coming in below budget.
Yeah, so there are some rules about how long they can save their reserves if they are official. I think there's a carryover clause in there. I'm not sure. That's getting into the weeds for me, but that would be a great one to talk to your local legislators about because you certainly have some with Senator Beitman and Kinski being very entrenched in education that you could find out specifically that wouldn't. How they can incentivize, but that still doesn't solve for X. From the way we see it, it's and then also, what's the funding level that the state wants to keep up with, and then how are you going to pay for it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, looking ahead, Bo's been in here 3 times, and the last time he showed me his 4 or 5 binders of the K-12 budget, and it's just, him and Senator Kinski are probably the most in it, and it's still kind of like he's looking at me like I'm studying for a SAT in here, so, and it's, anyways, looking ahead, kind of on that same note, I think something has to move here, and Zach and I have talked about it. You mentioned that general fund the governor did about, let's just say $450 million cuts to other state agencies, and I'm looking at some of these, in the interim, discussions, infrastructure, our utilities. Right. So, yes. Outside, K-12 is a big issue, but on top of that, it's kind of like we need to have this conversation of what's important and, what's important, and then, how are we going to fund it? Would you agree?
Right. So the themes that from this last session was the supplemental budget woes, and they were able to come to terms with that. K-12 funding stayed stagnant. The other one that we follow closely that we feel is just as threatening as K-12 is the infrastructure and transportation funding. WYGOP just released a study that they did from an outside contractor to understand their needs to maintain adequate infrastructure on our roads and highways. And they're facing a $350 million a year deficit as well. Of all, and there's some debate of nice to have versus must to have, but still, even if you're looking at $200 to $300 million a year, that's pretty significant. And as far as it goes, last year we did support a fuel tax, but the House didn't even hear it. And so we're right in the middle of the road. As I think we're 24 cents a gallon. That's paid at the rack. And we proposed there was a proposal out there. There was a proposal out there for 33 cents a gallon. I know Joint Transportation just met last week, and they are wanting to bring that back up and look back at that. That seemed to be the most, the easiest one to digest for this group. There is talks about road user charge, but quite frankly, until there's a federal program, that will be and hard to implement on out-of-state drivers. And then there's just not many systems to monitor or that are up in place that we could replicate. Utah has a pilot program going right now on hybrid and some volunteer vehicles, but it's a very big system that potentially could be the future as fuel efficiencies improve and, we start looking at hybrid. But it's still not here yet. And fuel tax is the best system that's in place, and that we could feel immediate relief for funding transportation. The other big conversation that I think will continue now, and that happened last session, was instead of raising taxes, we have no income tax. and we all probably would love to keep that way. And we have a very low property tax, and we have sales tax. And on our sales tax, we have over 50 exemptions. And so exemptions became a big conversation at looking at some of these exemptions that we give away. Some of them probably do make sense for economic development, like a manufacturing exemption. But our food exemption that we put on, got $65 million on the table a year with no food tax on, or no sales tax on food at the grocery store. Also, taxes on services, I think, will come back for discussion.
Interesting. I mean, that's, we understand that there's going to have that conversation, but I was going to make a snide remark at WY about they've got private jets, and they just did an out-of-state study, and they're claiming that they're missing $300 million. So I'm like, how'd you do that study then? Right. That's interesting.
Right.
Well, and on a serious note,
so you take that with a grain of salt. That's the thing. Depending on what that number really is, there still is probably a need. If you drive up and down I-80, you'll feel it driving.
Yeah, and that's where I was going to lead. On a serious note, let's just say half of that is true. So $150 million a year on top of, we still haven't funded K-12. So now we're looking at $450 million, $500 million a year.
Yeah.
So like something has to happen. Either we got to cut our services, or we're implementing some huge property taxes or some income taxes. I mean, that's, when we're looking at numbers like that, you just mentioned the food exemption. Yeah, it's $65 million. That's great. But when I'm looking at numbers like $400 million, it's like, well, I'm doing crap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one magic bullet, it's going to be a lot. And, we're a big proponent of Tax Reform 2000. Just backing up a little bit for some of your listeners, they structure since 1970 when the severance tax was implemented, and our state budget, which at the time in 2000 was 75%, the drastic boom and bust cycle of the mineral and our legacy industries. While we know that there's still going to be a big partner in the state, we have to diversify that revenue stream, because today, fast forward, we're about 53%. So, that's the chicken and the egg conversation. It's looking at the tax structure. I do feel, the ARPA dollars, it does buy us some time to have some productive conversations. Why the sun is shining, fix the roof, and let's look at the roof. Just another reminder for your listeners is, as released by the State of Wyoming Economic Analysis, based off tax receipts collected for the average family, 3-person family making $65,000 and owning a home of, I'm going to make sure I get my numbers right. Yeah, $250,000. They pay on average $3,500 in taxes and receive $27,090 in services. So if you do the math, it's every dollar you put at, no matter what your family size and how much you make, you pay $1 in and you get $8 in services back out, which was largely contributed to the mineral sector picking up that tab for a long time. So the discussion will be, how much more do we cut? If we do raise taxes, who do we tax? We love to tax everybody but us. So that will no doubt be the conversation that continues. As you can see, Aaron and Zach, from the recap I sent over to you, all the tax bills that went through, they're mainly red.
Yep.
Meaning none of them passed. So a couple of bright spots that's interesting that did pass, I guess, was there was Senate File 85, a property tax. And so that was for small businesses, those that are paying personal property tax, at home businesses for $2,400 less than fair market value of business property. We did for them, but that was the assessors mailing out tax bills for like $2.35. So it was costing more to collect than what we actually brought in. So that was an administrative fix that was that was pretty nice. Also, House Bill 133, online sports wagering. This was a pretty important tax bill and just bill in general that passed for industry. That does allow online sports wagering, and 10% of net revenues, they will pay into our state a year, plus a $100,000 buy-in every 5 years. So that was kind of interesting, and we continued to look at the Gaming Commission and modifications with Senate File 56. They passed that, and games of skill and gaming opportunities are available in our state with that. I think there's Keno available now. They were looking at Keno stations that didn't pass, but they're much looking in that sector. So it's interesting seeing some of these sectors emerging. The other one that I thought was kind of fascinating was Senate File 119 and Senate File 120. And this was a great bill that passed because this doesn't raise taxes but raised revenue. Both of them, one was an investment of state permanent funds and the other was investment of state non-permanent funds. And together those raised over $300 million just with some of our investment options with our corpus. So the good news is we're not in debt. We'll never be in debt. We do have plenty of savings, and we're able to make some return on investment with those. So that was a great bill that I thought passed that nobody had to get taxed on.
Yeah, those are good. I like that. Zach, do you have... go ahead.
And then the last one I thought was just for notoriety that was super fascinating to me was Senate File 189. That's mine product taxes for natural gas consumed on site. So if you see, guys, on my slide, there's a picture of what it looks like a little mini generator / data center, and that's for Bitcoin miners. They are leasing properties from oil and gas and other energy developers, and they are now exempt from using the flare gas to power their little machines that are mining data for Bitcoin. So that's fascinating as our state opens up for take it or leave it, like it or not. I mean, now that it makes it a little more business friendly for them. How it helps their revenue problem, undecided on that, but it is an interesting industry that's emerging, and they are working on policy to make it business friendly for those guys to be here.
Yeah, something to keep an eye on. The crypto stuff for sure, right. Blockchain.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I've been thinking of too, is just these kind of emerging industries in Wyoming. So crypto or blockchain. Another one that really doesn't get a lot of attention is hemp. And I think that has a huge possibilities for providing just all sorts of things, whether you're growing it or you're manufacturing the products that test it and get it ready to go for whatever people want to use it for. Do you see...
so we legalized that 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah. And so we know, I think we talked about it, Aaron and I did, a couple months ago, but do you see maybe some traction gaining there, or what do you see kind of going on with some of these emerging industries?
So the hemp specifically, that was 3 years ago in 2019. And at the time I was the CEO for Goshen County Economic Development Corporation, and they are currently working on recruiting hemp producers. They're growing it in Goshen and working on value-added manufacturing. So the exciting thing about that is the state is really good at producing products, but not adding value to it. And like, for example, beef, we're really good at raising beef, but we don't have, I'm sure you guys have heard the debate about, we don't have many places to go process our beef. There are a lot of boutique beef processing and USDA certified facilities like all of a sudden popping up, which has been a lot of hard work. But again, that's an industry, and especially ag being our number 3 industry, not having a lot of added value to it. Anything we can do with a raw material and manufacture it and have the GDP grow with it is great. So I think hemp has a ton of potential there. I'm not sure quite yet on cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and blockchain, how that's going to work, because I know we'll certainly gather fees as they register their businesses here, but it won't come with a lot of employees or physical properties, right? They don't have any tangible personal property to tax, or unless I guess now if they're mining the Bitcoin, if they're all virtual, they don't have. That's going to be an interesting as we move forward. And speaking in that world, as far as tax trends on a national level, there's a lot of digital taxes that are out there. Some in our perspective, but those will be definitely debated. There was a House Bill 176. It was digital. Sure, I say that right? Digital streaming tax, and so that would have taxed your Netflix for anything that you stream. But there was some amendments that kind of put some similarly situated taxpayers against each other that ultimately killed the bill. But I think they'll try to keep working that one.
Interesting.
The other one that I think is interesting is, as I go back to that slide, is House Bill 128, County Option Real Estate Transfer Tax. And that's like the Teton County tax that they're trying to figure out how do they tax the wealth in Teton County, the real estate market. So they try to make a spin on that with it being county option. So you had an opt-in to tax real estate transfers. Sheridan County would be another county that probably would be pretty lucrative to put that on. But that definitely went down and wasn't equitable. They taxed properties over $1 million at 4% was the proposal.
Whoa.
Yikes.
That'd be crazy.
So that was kind of an interesting debate.
Yeah.
Yeah. The income taxes, they'll keep talking about. You saw that they brought those up, but nobody's there yet.
Yeah, I think a lot has to happen first before that even gets close to being considered.
Sure.
I'm trying to think what else. I think that was great, Ashley. That gives a recap for our listeners, kind of affirms some things Zach and I have said, but it comes from a place of authority, what, just kind of as a last thing, like where can people find some of this stuff? Like you guys have,
Sure.
WTA provides some of this stuff, or they can become a member. What if someone's really curious, how can they dig into this a little bit more?
Yeah, so I would invite you to look at our website at wyotax.org. And under publications and reports, we have a ton of information that you can dig through. We try to boil it down where it's simple and easy to digest. Of course, we are a membership-based organization, so if you want to receive updates and more detailed information and follow the legislature, we would totally encourage you to look into membership. You can find all that information on our website. But I think I'd leave your listeners with the thought process of, what is the end goal for Wyoming? What do we want programs and services to look like? And what are we willing to pay for? How do we get there? And my thought is I'm analyzing is how do these ARPA funds affect the upcoming budget as we go into budget session 2022, and looking at the reduction in spending specifically in education, plus the pain and cuts that just came through, plus the use of our rainy day funds will maybe get us to a revenue enhancement. And then the things that I think that the governor's really worked on with his WYO sense and transparency is understanding all the copy cans of money and the ability to spend, because it's hard to raise taxes when we know we have all these little pots of money.
Sure.
Right.
An effort for more transparency. I think until all of those things align and can be answered, we won't see major changes in the tax structure. The one thing that is certain is that Wyoming will have to continue to be creative and think about long-term solutions to our revenue and spending options, because we are very...
Oh, we lost you.
I was just saying, because we're very unique, so we'll have to be very creative. So I thank you for the opportunity to share some insight. And the best thing is just to get educated and informed on what's going on. Because when you know your rest area is closed or there's a cut eventually of a service that you enjoy, you'll understand it. These are hard decisions that our electeds have to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I second that 100%.
And I don't know. There's not a magic bullet.
Yeah.
It's going to take kind of maneuvering on both sides of the aisle there. So.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree. Yeah. Well, Ashley, thank you for the time. That's about 30 minutes, so that's perfect timing.
Perfect.
We'll have you on again, obviously, because I guarantee there's going to be special sessions this summer leading up into the next year. So, committee meetings are already going and stuff like that. So, thanks for your time, and
sure.
And hopefully people go to your guys' website and maybe sign up and get educated a little bit.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashley.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Have a great day.
You too. Nice, Zach. Let me... And Zach, what's some great info there from Ashley.
Yeah.
What's kind of your immediate takeaway there from kind of everything she was talking about?
We're not out of the woods yet.
Not anywhere close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She used this phrase, a magic bullet, and she's absolutely right. There's not going to be one fix-all solution. Mm-hmm. And I think we've all known that. We've been talking about that for a long time. We've talked, just raising taxes, not going to cut it. Just cutting services, probably not going to cut it. There's a lot of things that have to come into play here. And so I think what really should be happening right now for people who, like us, the voters and the citizens, should be keeping this in the back of our mind. Don't let this, don't forget about this, because this is a big problem.
Yep.
She pointed out that's a $300 million deficit in education. That's really the big thing right now, is education.
Yes.
Because that didn't get touched. And yes, Aaron and I have talked about funds and all that stuff from the feds. That $300 million in 2 years, really, if we had to use that out of the rainy day fund, pretty much depletes that rainy day fund.
Yep.
So anyway, I don't want to go too in depth. I want everybody, everyone I'm hoping has listened to it already. But there's a lot of good stuff in there. Yeah,
just to point out some numbers that I took away from it was her example of, a Wyoming taxpayer pays $1 and they're getting $8 in services. Mm-hmm. So right there, we need to start having this conversation as citizens of, okay, what services do we need to start cutting? And we've already cut a lot. So now, it's going to be tight on a lot of things, but it's like, so we got to make that decision.
Right.
Our state services have been very, either well-funded or just, we've kind of just been spending. And then now we're in this problem. Yeah. Another thing I'd like to point out is the decrease on the reliability of oil and gas. I hit this every time we talk about energy, this whole crap of we need to get off oil and gas and coal. We're not on it. It's 50-50 right now.
Yeah.
So we obviously have a spending problem, okay? And we're not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
And I challenge any renewables or diversify people. Well, we're not doing it. We haven't done anything in the last 10 years. We've decreased it down to 50-50. Oil and gas still saves our butt when we need it to. Yep. And so it's obviously not coming from renewables and quote unquote diversifying the economy.
Right.
And it never would be. It's not going to be an immediate fix. So that's a lie. Yeah. And I think those numbers support that. Now, I'm not against that we should diversify. I think there's an obvious, 50% is still we need to start diversifying to other things.
Right.
I don't think you do that through taxes and trying to kill oil and gas and coal. I think you support people like Ramaco.
Right.
And she mentioned hemp. Hemp was legalized to grow hemp in 2013 or 2019.
And let's just think about those numbers that Senator Kinski showed us a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Manufacturing jobs are paying about the same price as coal and natural gas jobs. Mm-hmm. If we are, and look, there's no, there is a ton to hemp. There are these, production things that people can build,
Yes.
and that, just testing stuff alone is its own industry in hemp.
Yes.
You can start that up here or anywhere in this state. Anyway, look, there's a ton of stuff to go into there, but manufacturing, diversifying, if we really want to diversify and we're serious about it, we should look at manufacturing.
Yep. And that's a good plug. Next week is Senator Dave Kinski's interview, and he talks exactly about that. How can the state of Wyoming be like Sheridan?
Yeah.
We have Kennan, we have Emmet, we have Weatherby, we have Ramaco. That's obviously what's keeping us afloat. Yes, we have the Decker and Spring Creek coal mines here. But we're obviously doing okay because we have those manufacturing jobs.
Yes.
We have those innovative jobs. Again, I can tell you, the city did not do shit to get those people here. The state did not do shit to get those people here. It's the businesses did it themselves. Now, did it take them 15, 20 years? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about is don't think that's an immediate solution, but you're right. It's manufacturing and doing other things, ag business, with hemp and other stuff. So, and then the last thing, if you didn't get it from Ashley, be educated. Find the numbers. Don't just believe, all this stuff, on anything. Just go get the information. Call your state senators. Okay, we've had Bo Beitman on 3 times. We've had all Sheridan County. Actually, we've had all Sheridan County representatives and senators on the show. You can get them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Because we're more professional. We're official.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
we're the elite of Sheridan.
Easy. We are part of the media, though.
Yeah. Well.
Are we? Anyways, but great interview there with Ashley Harpstreith. We're gonna have her on all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's great stuff. Zach, before we get to the other state news, you want to give a shout out to our other advertisers or sponsors, whatever we want to call them?
Absolutely. So one of our advertisers today is Sheridan County Title. They offer better service for a better price. Ask for the best title service that has been serving Sheridan for over 50 years. Give them a call at 307-672-6478. Another one is Alpha Graphics of Sheridan. They have a full variety of printing needs for any business or brand. They can also help with web design, social media, marketing, and more. Give them a call today at 307-674-6277 or give them a visit up on North Main Street.
They did all our stickers. You can see on the table, that canvas right there.
Yep.
And then Sheridan County Title is probably doing our title on our selling our house. So
There you go.
we're a full connected team.
Yes.
All right, Zach, let's get through this stuff because we do want to talk. God, I just hate that we're always talking about Liz Cheney and all that crap. But
another story to talk about.
I know. This is great news. 50% of Wyoming is now vaccinated, which is probably why you're seeing, UW is saying no more masks. We can have events and, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
I just want to say to all the pundits out there, oh, weird. You make people make their own choice and they'll do it.
Right.
And maybe it might take them a while.
Yeah.
Remember a couple months ago, they're like, people need to take the vaccine. We have. So settle down.
Right.
We're a free country, and also remember like ranchers, they were calving. Yeah. That's not their priority is to go get the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So settle down out there that we're all freaking out. It's like, we'll get it at some point,
Yeah.
So, but good news. I think that's good news.
50% vaccinated. Yeah.
For our tourism, for our businesses, events. So anyways, Zach, what is your thoughts? I know you and I were just talking about this. We haven't researched this whatsoever. What do you think about all these states that are still researching into the national election?
My question is it going to undo Biden's presidency and inauguration? He's been president for coming on 6 months now.
Yeah.
Is it gonna just magically stop that?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna find out that Donald Trump should have been running should have been in the White House for the last 6, 7, 8, whatever, how many months?
Yeah.
Is that what we're gonna find out? What's the goal here?
Yes. Like, what's the goal? Is that really the end goal? Is you want to be in August? Because really, as how this is going, it's going to be August, September when you guys claim like, oh yeah, he should have won these states. We're like, that's pretty much a civil war, guys. Like, we're pretty much at this point of, well, California, New York, all the blue states are going to disagree. All the red states are going to say, no, it's him. then it's go time. Then it's like, okay.
Right.
So is that the goal here?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think the goal is, the GOP needs to be really thinking about how do we stop his insanity.
Right.
And, other things that are more important to national security.
Right. Yeah, no, and
we'll get this in the Liz Cheney thing too, because we're going to talk about kind of her and there's like 50 people running against her.
Yeah.
And that's not even a joke. Like, I feel like I need to do a higher number because literally there's like 25 people running.
Yeah, I think at least registered, there's like 8.
You and I should register.
Sure.
Can we do Can we be represent congressmen?
But I mean, what was I going to say? Oh, we've been talking about this since last November. Is just this like infighting and this whole like that's really the problem here.
Yes.
If you want a strong candidate to run for president in 2024, it should not be Donald Trump. I'm just going to say it should not be Donald Trump. We need to sort our crap out. We need to get it in a group. We need the GOP Republicans need to figure out what is important to us and how are we going to fight for those things.
And it starts here because the Wyoming GOP had a meeting, and our friends at Cowboy State Politics, talks about kind of how that meeting went and some of the things they talked about. Again, it was mostly, what are we going to do about Liz Cheney? And it's like, I could give a rat's ass about Liz Cheney right now.
Yeah.
You and we just had an interview with Ashley Harpstreith. We have a K-12 spending problem.
Yeah.
Governor Gordon mentioned something about the Second Amendment and gun rights. Other states have told Biden, you better not pick this ATF guy, but Gordon has not. I want the Wyoming GOP calling him up and saying, you better join these other states.
Right.
We don't want that. There's bigger issues here than Liz Cheney and what Donald Trump wants.
I agree.
And I know you and I are both conservative, but I know there's conservatives out there that are probably not liking what we're saying. But it's like, guys, if Trump is the guy in 2024, we're going to lose again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It will be the end. There will be a new faction of the Republic. I mean, we already saw it.
Yeah.
We're already seeing it now.
Yeah.
You have the Trumpists. I didn't believe in that kind of term when Trump was in president, but now we're really seeing these Trumpists. And that's what you're going to have is the Trump GOP. And then you're going to have people who really believe in conservative values who are on the sideline who are like, I don't think that guy's really doing the best job. Isn't really standing up for the party, right? And the only reason I say that is because these people are just diehard Trump fans. They're just going to agree with everything he says. He's this messianic figure to these people.
What it is, I was thinking about this today. What he is the Democrats' far left. Is now he is becoming, and maybe he's not intentionally doing it, but he's getting a following that is far right.
Sure.
The alt-right.
Sure.
They are going full party, because they are overtaking the conservatives and saying, I am a true conservative because I support Trump. Right. And it's like, now, and this is, I was thinking through this like as an argument. I was like, look, he did great things fiscally that I agree with as a fiscal conservative, right? Which makes sense. He was a businessman, so he's going to make the fiscal responsible decisions.
Yeah.
Now, foreign policy wise, which Zach is the biggest gripe conservatives have with Liz Cheney is her differences on foreign policy. But you have to admit, Donald Trump was an isolationist. Isolationist.
Yeah.
Okay. And then
very America first.
Exactly. Yeah. Which I'm not bumping him on. Right. I know that's what he was. Right.
Right.
Now, from a foreign policy perspective, you have to look at everything differently. Okay. And Dan Crenshaw said this way back when he first got in, because he was a Navy SEAL. And he's like, look, foreign policy is like, we just talked about Palestine and the Middle East, like that. People become doctors on that history.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So you expect a dude that was never in politics, never has done foreign policy. He's only done business, right? His dealings have been business, so it's nothing really cultural.
Right.
surprise, surprise, he's going to differ from other politicians that have maybe had experience in foreign policy. So,
no, I think you're right. And I don't like to throw around this term of alt-right or far-right, but when you look at who these people are and they're voting strictly on the party lines, they're going to conform to the party lines, then I think, you fall into a different category on the political spectrum. And I don't want to, I'm not going to call out fascists, say that they're fascist or say that they're, Nazis or racists. Like that's not how I see it. I think when we look at this term of alt-right, we're looking at strictly conforming to these party lines, and whoever the party leader is setting those party lines. You can say the same thing about the far left, as they're, whoever they've propped up, AOC or Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren or Kamala Harris, because she was the most progressive candidate who was running. They set the standard for the party lines, and they are conforming to that party line. If you don't fall in there, you're not part of the party. And you saw that kind of conflict with Nancy Pelosi and AOC in that group when they first got in. So I think if you're conforming to these party lines, you're almost one and the same. You are. Really, you're almost one and the same.
Well, and I mean, history, Zach, this is why you need to learn your history. People were always surprised. Why did Stalin and Hitler have a peace treaty at first?
Right.
Because they're the exact same.
Right.
Now they just go about it differently. Okay, the Nazis, again, were a party first.
Yes.
Communism, they called it the people first, but really it's the party first.
Yes.
And then at some point, they look at each other and like, well, we're different parties.
Right.
So that's exactly what we're talking about. And I'm with you. I don't like using alt-right and like the far right, but that's what's happening is they are on this party line, and it's like, that's not one. I kind of disagree that's not really the party. You're telling me that Donald Trump is the party now,
right?
That
used the pinnacle of conservatism.
That used to be Ronald Reagan,
right.
and the Bushes actually didn't do a bad. That was one thing, is people are bashing the Bushes now, and I'm like, I thought the Bushes were okay. Like what? Right. Now I'm like, we can't do this now, guys. Like what? Yeah. We're going to say every president we've had now before Trump as a Republican is bad?
Right.
Okay. Like, just because you disagree foreign policy. Now, were there weapons of mass destruction in the Middle East? No. And we can get into the whole military industrial complex if you want. But are we safer now?
Yeah.
I would say yes. So obviously something works there. And I've said this before. I don't want to know what the CIA does. I don't.
Yeah.
That's a problem if I know what the CIA is doing in other countries.
Yeah.
So it starts here, Zach. It's freaking wild.
It really does. The Wyoming GOP, not just the representatives, just the GOP in this state has got to come together and figure out what's going on. And then, it does start here. It starts here with a lot of things.
Yeah. I mean, like, we both were supporters of the Orange Man, and like I said, he did fiscally responsible things. And I think that's important. I mean, obviously look at our state budget, right? We obviously see we're in this loop with the GOP because it's like, okay, so we're going to go after Cheney while we're in a $300 million deficit.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
So anyways, but I don't think we need to talk about anything else. About the story of Bouchard. You can
if you're really that interested, go and find it. I'm sure you can find it anywhere. It's sad. That's all I thought. It's just,
like you said,
bad.
It's just a tragedy, and them who, if it is Cheney, which it probably is, it's her camp that got the story out there. Like that's such a low blow, but I don't. It's just sad. But this will be an interesting race for sure. But other than that, Zach, man, I do want to say this. I haven't really run this by you yet, but I think this will be the last Give No Ground on the GoBeWYO channel. We are going to set up the Give No Ground channel. That way we keep it separate. It's nice and easy for everyone to follow along. So if you're listening all the way to the end of this, so just be on the lookout for that. We're going to have a Give No Ground channel. Audio wise, I think YouTube wise we'll keep it the same, but And then, and then just to give a last shout out to, oh, I forgot one, Fly Sheridan.
Yeah.
Summer's coming up. If you want to save time, fly local, fly Sheridan and United. It's reliable air service operated by SkyWest Airlines. You can book via United or flysheridan.com. Summer's coming up. Everyone's going on trips or people are coming in here. So use our local airport. And I know we will when we're going to Greece. We'll probably use that to Denver and then we're on to Greece. So,
there you go.
And then, DYT Solutions. Make sure you check them out for any digital marketing solutions. And
They've
Zach,
been coming in clutch recently.
they have been, yes. The video stuff, man, this is crazy.
Oh man, yeah.
But also kind of a shameless plug here. If there's anything we need to talk about, hit us up. You know, because the Give No Grounds, well, we're gonna get a little more consistent because you're getting out of your job, and then that, you know, if there's anything that you guys would like us to talk about, anybody we should interview for the GoBeWYO, you know, we're always open to suggestions, and you know, if you want to advertise, we're always open to that too. We've got some spots still open there.
Yep. DM the GoBeWYO pages, Aaron's contact info. Can they get a hold of us through the website, email?
Yep, I've got contact info up, and actually that prompts me that I'll put you on there as well, so that way we've got both of us on there.
So so you can go through the website and reach out to us for other opportunities. Just give us feedback too. Just let us know what do you like, what.
Give us a review. If you've listened all the way through here, give us a review, 5-star review.
I was telling Aaron, I think the thing that we continue to do and that sets us apart from other people is we talk about these things that aren't very sexy.
Yes.
And we do that for you guys, for our listeners, so that you know about these things that aren't being talked about so much. And that's an important thing. We're going to continue to do that. And we know that they kind of get dry. Talking about taxes and stuff sometimes gets dry when you just get all these numbers thrown at you and stuff. But, you know, stick with us. Listen, we really our goal is to educate, to inform, and to help you make your own decisions too about these things. Whether you agree with us or disagree with us, that's great. We're all about conversations here at GoBeWYO. So,
we'll finish out with that. You know, that was our whole goal. GoBeWYO. We want to provide everybody with, you know, facts, be as unbiased as we possibly can, and talk about pretty much the unsexy stuff,
right?
You know, so thanks for sticking with us, and that's another Give No Ground, and we'll catch everyone next time.